If you are into martial arts anime, then the last week has probably been quite a treat. Thanks to Netflix's recent release of Baki vs. Kengan Ashura, we finally got to witness a fight that has intrigued most fans for years. For longtime fans of the two iconic martial arts series, this crossover event was literally like fanfiction come to life. Even though the feature is just an hour long, it contains so many cameos from different characters that it's quite easy to lose count when you're in the thick of it. Thus, in this marvelous video, we're going to list out all the different characters from Baki and Kengan Ashura who made an appearance in this film. Ohma Tokita! What better way to kick this off than the Ashura himself? Ohma is actually the protagonist of Kengan Ashura and is known to be one of the toughest brawlers on the planet. He first entered the Kengan Association as a fighter for the Nogi group and has fought through some of the nastiest men on the planet. Though he is a genuinely kind and well-meaning individual, he can often appear arrogant and condescending. But his arrogance is definitely warranted. I mean, the guy literally beat 100 men once without even breaking a sweat. He's blessed with almost unreal physical attributes and even possesses extraordinary senses that allow him to sense the flow of power while fighting. He's a master in the Nico style and is so proficient in the form that he can genuinely train for his battles through out-of-body experiences in his sleep. The man has an almost unbreakable spirit and an unrelenting lust for battle, which often leads him to the strongest men around. When cornered, Ohma can perform an involuntary autophagy, which allows him to break down housekeeping proteins and allocate them to basic life functions. This enables him to push way past his limits, and he's said to be even more efficient in battle when fatigued. Overall, Ohma Tokita is a pretty simple guy, likes to fight and sleep, and sometimes even fights during his sleep. Now that's definitely one very unique way to become the strongest fighter. Baki! Baki is a simple guy. He likes to fight and he has severe daddy issues. His turbulent relationship with his father, the monstrous Yujiro Hanma, is probably the key factor that drove him to the fighting business, but it's definitely his heart that keeps him there. Over the years, we've seen Baki take on enemies far larger and stronger than himself, only to come out on top. He's been involved in underground fights since the age of 15, and this has led to him becoming so strong that he can literally vaporize punching bags. But this strength wasn't found overnight and is actually the result of constant challenge and rigorous training. At this point in the series, it's common for characters to refer to Baki as the strongest boy on planet Earth, and to be honest, we couldn't agree more. Baki has a vast range of techniques and moves at his disposal, which provides him with numerous ways to end a fight. He is also very quick at grasping his opponent's techniques, and this allows him to expand his skill set at an astonishing pace. Throughout the series, Baki has continuously expanded his knowledge of various martial arts, incorporating judo, Kempo, and Jujutsu into his own unique form. Baki has a great mind for combat techniques, which allows him to adapt to any style much quicker than others. For the fans who have seen Baki rise through the ranks, the young brawler's grit has definitely been a treat. Gensai Kuroki. This stoic, hairy giant stands at the very top of the pyramid in the world of Kengan Ashura. A master karateka, he specializes in the Kaiwan style and is feared all across the world due to his reputation as an assassin. He entered the Kengan Annihilation Tournament as an affiliate of Motorhead Motors and has since inspired a lot of admiration among the brawlers. He inherited the Kaiwan style directly from the previous master, and the high priest of the Daisen Temple even believes him to be an avatar of the Wisdom King. The priest also acknowledged that Gensai was the strongest fighter he'd encountered in the past 105 years. The man is actually more of an artist than a fighter at this point, and he seems to be capable of performing almost impossible tasks, like resetting his dislocated shoulder just using centrifugal force, and even carving an intricate sculpture using just his fists. This man is at the pinnacle of combat prowess and is likely to remain there for a very long time. Yujiro Hanma. Baki's father towers over the world of fighting. He's hated and feared in equal measure and is honestly the closest a man can get to becoming a monster. A highly paid mercenary who has worked for numerous governments across the globe, Yujiro is definitely the man at the top of the food chain in the world of Baki the Grappler. With his vibrant red hair, menacing smile, and towering physique, Yujiro is definitely the most intimidating man you've ever laid eyes on. Extremely violent with a special knack for emotional manipulation, Yujiro has dedicated his entire life to the art of punching people's faces. Over the years, we've seen Yujiro perform a whole slew of unimaginable feats, like stopping earthquakes by punching the ground, pushing back about 100 members of the riot police all alone, and even taking down a giant elephant that was resistant to tanks. He seems to be something of a genius, at least when it comes to fighting, and even possesses keen knowledge about other subjects. Just take a look at the demon hidden amongst the terrifying muscles on his back, and we bet you'll agree with his moniker, the strongest creature on Earth. Saw Pang Yoro Izuka. When a man carries a moniker like Howling Fighting Spirit, it's kind of obvious that he's a major threat. Saw Pang first appeared in the world of Kengan Ashura as an affiliated fighter from the village of Dawn during the Kengan Annihilation Tournament. This Burmese fighter has a perpetual grin that could mislead his opponents, but you should be afraid, very afraid. This man is a master in the brutal art of Lathe Wei and has undergone almost unimaginable amounts of pain in order to turn his body into the perfect instrument of war. By repeatedly smashing his bones and causing microfractures, he was able to increase his resilience to an almost superhuman level. Every time the microfractures healed up, it increased the density of Saw Pang's skeleton to a point where no attack really ever seemed to get to him. His insane durability is perfectly exemplified in his ultimate move, called the Hammer of Burma. This is essentially a headbutt, enhanced by Saw Pang's flexibility and toughness. Saw Pang pulls his head back completely and unleashes a full-force attack that can create craters and actual rocks. Kinda gives new meaning to the word headstrong. Kaoru Hanayama. A major player in the world of underground fighting, Kaoru is the kind of guy who knows nothing but violence. Famous for being the strongest Yakuza in Japan, he's lived through countless battles and has the scars to show. He was just a teenager when he entered the world of organized crime, and since then, he's honed his skills by engaging in life and death battles for a living. It's rumored that this giant doesn't train. Instead, all his power just comes to him naturally. He's feared and respected in equal measure, and even the arrogant protagonist, Baki, looks up to him as an older brother. The reason he's so adept at battle is because of his raw power that allows him to overwhelm any opponent in a fight. His grip is feared as one of the greatest tools in the arena, as he can strip the flesh off the bone just by holding on to someone's forearm. That's some gruesome, gory fun right there. Later in his life, Hanayama even started training, which further augmented his already incredible skill set. Hanayama's only weakness is his slow speed, but come on, this mountain of a man doesn't really need to move to finish fights. Ryan Kure. Well, anime fans already know that psychopaths are fairly common in the medium. But even then, Ryan Kure is one of those specimens that could easily send a shiver up anyone's spine. Not only is he a part of the deadly Kure clan of assassins, but it's also believed that he's the best out of all of them. Ryan's combat prowess comes from generations of selective breeding done by the clan, which resulted in a man with almost supernatural amounts of strength. Not only this, but he's also undergone rigorous training that allows him to make full use of his incredible physical attributes. This generally means bad news for his opponents, as Ryan is as violent as they get. He never really shows remorse for his actions and actually seems to enjoy the bloodshed on a very spiritual level. If that isn't enough to scare you off, just remember that this guy is probably the best at the Kure clan style, a martial art form that is designed to attack the vital areas of the body. The most powerful technique in Ryan's arsenal is called removal. This allows him to let go of all the mental constraints holding his body back, allowing him to transcend to an almost inhuman level. In this form, Ryan glows a dull red and veins begin to pop out of his skin. If you ever see this guy opposing you in this manner, it's best to just surrender. However, this power is a double-edged sword that also puts Ryan's own body at severe risk. Jack the Hammer. What if Baki took all the wrong routes to become the strongest fighter in the world? What if he abandoned all morality and drove himself into a steroid-fueled quest for revenge against his father? Well, I guess the answer would be Jack the Hammer Hanma. Jack's violent journey is fueled by the heinous actions Yujiro committed against his mother, leading him to become unstable. He has taken enough super steroids to knock out an entire city, and this clearly shows in his towering physique. There's something just unnatural about this giant, as he had his skeleton restructured multiple times to get bigger. He once had his face bitten off by Pickle, and when he woke up in the hospital from a severe coma, he went right back to confront the prehistoric fighter. Due to his habit of occasionally biting people's flesh off, he's earned the nickname the Biting Cyborg, and that's definitely something we wouldn't want to go up against. He's quite an unconventional fighter, as he tends to abandon all technique and rush at his opponents like a rabid animal. His teeth can easily tear through flesh, so just imagine what it would do to you. He's not exactly the noble gladiator you'd want to see in the arena, but that's what makes him so fun to watch. Metsuro Karahara. This dignified old man is definitely more than meets the eye. Metsuro is actually the director of the Dai Nippon Bank and a former chairman of the Kengan Association. He also serves as an advisor to the association, proving that he has a knack for getting into highly influential positions. Though he seems to be a jovial old man with a welcoming persona, behind the kind smile is an incredibly dominating man. His presence and sheer energy are said to be almost supernatural, and even the strongest of men can be overwhelmed when Mitsudo appears in the room. Though he is the oldest member of the Kengan Association, he is often regarded as a newcomer by other members whose ancestors have been a part of the collective for centuries. Even when he was the chairman, he rarely enforced rules as long as breaking them made things more interesting. For him, the most important part of fighting is the challenge, and this can often be seen through arbitrary rules he imposes upon the bout in order to up the stakes. Needless to say, the man knows how to get things done. Mitsunari Tokugawa. This wily old man is perhaps the most important character in the series, as he actually owns the underground arena where the various fighters of Baki face off. Often referred to as the Noble Elder, he holds much influence over the world of fighting without being much of a fighter himself. His love for fighting borders on sheer insanity, and some might even consider him to be a little psychotic. Not much moves in the world of Baki without Mitsunari's personal approval. One of the only people who can outsmart even the big bad of the series, Yujiro Hanma, this little old man owns everything we have grown to love over the years. Kazuo Yamashita. This meek, tiny man might just be the secret behind Tokita Ohma's phenomenal success. Kazuo was once a lowly employee at the Nogi Publishing second sales department, but deep within, there's always been a desire to become strong. Though he never really made it that far, he still ended up as Tokita Ohma's manager, a position that he reluctantly took up after some convincing from the CEO of his company. Though he possesses no combat skills himself, he has a very keen eye when it comes to fighting. This ability is known as the Fist Eye, which he inherited from his ancestor Yamashita Ichinoshin. Due to this, he's developed an almost superhuman level of kinetic vision, which allows him to instinctively discern visual patterns both in real life and in the arena. Doppo Orochi. In the vicious world of Baki, this man is honor personified. A strong, proud, and wise family man, he serves as the director of Shinshinkai Karate. His dojo is much more than an establishment, it's actually a part of it. He's like the samurai of old, gladly choosing to sacrifice their lives rather than live with the shame of defeat. His devotion to martial arts is unparalleled, and he spent his life in an endless quest for the perfect fist. One of the only people on the planet who can even hope to stand against Senior Hanma, he's a 10th Dan karateka with exceptional combat skills and decades of experience. He's a great teacher, but not a kind one, whipping his students regularly to get them into shape. As the founder and practitioner of the Shinshinkai style, he can perform almost superhuman feats like uprooting trees and slaying tigers with just his hands. Highly analytical and knowledgeable, there's not much that misses his eye when it comes to technique and movement. Kaidi Akiyama. Kaidi Akiyama is a secretary that works for Yamashita Kazuo and is currently employed under the Yamashita Trading Co. Though Kaidi might appear to be a very cold individual upon first encounter, this is just due to her social awkwardness. Her professional demeanor and politeness make her quite an ally in heated situations, due to which she is seen as one of the most integral parts of Yamashita's team. Sea Emperor Kaku. Also known as the Kaio Kaku, this frail old man is the greatest living grandmaster of Chinese Kenpo. Roughly 146 years old, this ruthless and proud master will go to any extent to defend his style's dominance. On one occasion, he stabbed 3 Chinese Martial Arts Association elders and cut off their limbs with just a single chop for a small difference in opinions. This elder also has a deep hatred for Baki, as our hero brutally defeats his son. But don't get us wrong, this is not for the love of his son, whom Kaku disowned after the defeat, but for the embarrassment suffered by Chinese martial arts. Kaku's arrogance comes from the fact that he has spent more than a century learning the intricacies of Chinese martial arts, and there is no detail that really escapes his eye. Despite his prowess and skill, he's not above using dirty tactics, but he does this very rarely. His primary technique is called Shaoli, which produces hyposthesia that allows Kaku to absorb the entire body weight of his attack. Trust us when we tell you that this sweet old grandpa is actually a true psychotic nutshell. Seishu Akoya. Seishu Akoya is definitely a man of many talents. Not only is he a police captain serving in the 44th Riot Squad, he also works as a secret vigilante who ruthlessly carries out his own brand of justice. An affiliate fighter for the Wakasa Life Insurance Company, Akoya is a relentless brawler in the ring. His preferred technique is Taiho Jutsu, an eclectic fighting style used by police officers to subdue opponents. Despite his offensive power, the man is best known for his defensive skills and is hailed as the one with the strongest defense in the association. He has also embedded a special device in his brain which allows him to communicate with his underlying Hiyama. As Hiyama has almost supernatural timing and perception, this greatly increases Seishu's reaction time, bringing it very close to 74 milliseconds. The continuous communication between the two enables Akoya to be ready for any changes in the opponent's strategies. He is also known for being extremely brutal and is not above using psychological manipulation to break his enemies. Sea King Retsu. Kaio Retsu is a Chinese brawler who comes from the same discipline as Kaku. He was born in a temple and raised from an early age under the strict discipline of the Chinese Kenpo style. His rigorous training has provided him with a deep sense of honor and pride in ancient art, but over the years, he has also learned to appreciate the diversity of different fighting styles. A highly intelligent individual, he is almost unbreakable both physically and mentally, and is probably one of the most measured characters in the outlandish world of Baki. Despite his calm composition, he can get quite aggressive when it comes to fighting, leading him to often make mistakes due to his overconfidence in his abilities. He has a profound desire to validate his strength through constant battles with legendary opponents. Still, he's not above using dirty tactics in order to gain the upper hand, but given the monsters he faces, sometimes we can let it slip. One of the earliest antagonists in the series, he has now grown into a beloved character and is motivated by the desire to become the strongest fighter in the world. Cosmo Imai. Cosmo came into the Kengan Annihilation Tournament as an affiliated fighter for the Nishihonji Security Services. This happy-go-lucky individual doesn't seem to be much of a threat until you witness his command over Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Considered to be a fighting prodigy, he's been blessed with insane amounts of agility and flexibility. This allows him to take down fighters way larger than himself despite his slight stature. His physical and mental conditioning is beyond the scope of any normal human. His indomitable will allow him to go far beyond his physical limitations and injuries in order to stay in the fight. Due to all of these qualities, he has earned the name King of Stranglers, which clearly indicates the danger posed by his impeccable grappling. His key technique is a unique maneuver titled the Zone that involves discerning the 0.1 second interval in which the opponent is completely focused on his attack. Once the timing is successfully discerned, Cosmo proceeds to attack the opponent's blind spot and binds them in an unbreakable hold. In his later appearances, he also developed an ability called Foresight, which allows him to predict his enemy's moves in advance. Katsumi Orochi. The adopted son of the great teacher Doppo Orochi, this karateka is a natural prodigy who might even surpass his father one day. Despite his young age, he's gained quite a reputation in the fighting circuit and has earned the name Lethal Weapon. He possesses almost superhuman durability and persistence, both physically and mentally. This has allowed him to rise up stronger every time he falls, marking him as one of the greatest threats in the arena. At one point, Pickle cut his arm right off, but this towering giant still managed to survive despite massive blood loss. His punches are fast enough to break the sound barrier, so you might not even see them coming. No wonder they call the technique Mach Punch. But what really makes Katsumi powerful is his ability to go on and on, even in the face of certain defeat, proving that his fighting spirit is unparalleled even in this world of monsters. Kowloon Wongsawat. Considered the second best pound-for-pound boxer in the world, Kowloon Wongsawat is the current heavyweight champion across 4 different organizations. A Nak Muay who took the boxing scene by storm, he participated in the Kengan Annihilation Tournament as the affiliated fighter for Yato Trading Co. Despite how good he is at bashing people's faces in, Kowloon is a perpetually calm individual who rarely, if ever, acts out of emotion. Behind his gentle and calm expression is one of the most analytical fighting minds on the planet. He can often notice sharp details that even seasoned fighters miss. His signature fighting move is known as Flash, and it's basically a barrage of quick, sharp flicker jabs that almost no one can see coming. He can release almost 15 of these in a single breath, and even though these aren't the most powerful, they can still cause significant damage over time. However, Kowloon's most powerful attack is the God Glue, a massive cross that can knock out even the most resilient of men. Kiyosumi Kato. A top student from the Shinshinkai Dojo, Kato is also known as the Dangerous Lion of Shinshinkai. One of Doppo Orochi's greatest disciples, he believes that karate should be made no holds barred. Thus, he often uses dishonorable moves, which creates quite a lot of friction between him and his teacher. After having enough of Doppo's honorable ways, he left the dojo to join the Yakuza. When he came back to the underground tournaments, he had grown even more ruthless than before. An incredibly strong fighter in his own right, this guy will poke your eyes out and kick your nuts in as long as he can land a victory. Powerful enough to slice through flesh with his karate chops, no limbs are safe when this guy's around. He's developed his style beyond karate, and his movements are much more acrobatic than those of standard karateka. Due to this, his style has become known as reckless karate art, which diverges from Doppo's original style. Despite his differences with Doppo, it's often implied that he holds a lot of respect for his former master. Jun Sekebayashi. A famous pro wrestler, Jun is a star in the world of Kengan Ashura. He first appeared in the Kengan Annihilation Tournament as a representative of Ganda. He is a gigantic physical specimen with dense, heavy-set musculature that grants him almost insane amounts of physical power. Due to his extensive experience as a wrestler, Jun is well trained in a variety of chokes, holds, and slams. But his most remarkable ability has to be the otherworldly endurance he exhibits even in the face of devastating punishment. No matter how much damage he takes, the wrestler's offensive power never really goes down. No matter who the opponent is, they're definitely in for a very long fight. Sea King Jaku. An eccentric teacher and fight nerd, this muscular giant is one of the kindest people in the show. He exhibits a genuine desire to help other fighters to better themselves, even his opponents. He specializes in Kukendo, an eclectic Japanese martial art that seems very similar to modern-day MMA. His style emphasizes grappling and ground combat with a mixture of fast-paced strikes. He might be one of the most knowledgeable people in terms of fight analysis, but when in the arena, he's a different beast altogether. Not above utilizing underhanded techniques, he is an opportunistic individual who once broke his opponent's hand on the pretext of shaking. His endurance and tenacity are second to none, and he's endured direct blows from some of the most powerful characters in Baki. One of his most fearsome attacks is the headbutt, which is understandable given that shiny dome. Adam Dudley. Adam Dudley is an American fighter who fought on behalf of Boss Burger during his time in Japan. A very vulgar and profane individual, he's known for throwing in sexual innuendo in almost every sentence he utters. In terms of physical prowess, he is a thorough juggernaut and has enough power to take down extremely skilled fighters without undergoing any such training himself. His main ability is his uncanny sense of balance, and he has enough dexterity to grip the ground with his toes. His most well-known technique is the high stick shot, an overhand punch that can cause significant physical damage even when it doesn't make contact. Seriously, we can only wonder what would happen to the victim if this attack hit head-on. Chiharu Shiba. Chiharu is an extremely resilient street fighter who seems to be completely unaware of the concept of pain. He's known to be extremely reckless in battle and can easily damage himself in order to gain an advantage in a fight. From breaking his own limbs to going beyond his physical limits, there's nothing that this wild brawler won't do. Over the years, his character has matured quite a bit, and Shiba now exhibits a much calmer demeanor. Chiharu is a young delinquent who idolizes Kaoru Hanayama and genuinely wishes to walk in the Yakuza's footsteps. His greatest advantage as a fighter is his durability and will, enabling him to fight through even the most severe injuries. He seems to be completely oblivious to pain and often employs his extremely hard skull for attacks. One of his greatest advantages is his endorphin skill, which allowed him to beat 100 men despite being in a motorcycle accident just moments before. As a street fighter, he's pretty proficient at using dirty tactics, but that's just the world these guys live in. Julius Ryan. This muscular behemoth with veins bursting out of his skin has served as the affiliate fighter for Tokyo Electric and Iwami Heavy Industries during two different Kengan tournaments. Needless to say, he's a force to be reckoned with and truly believes that brute power is capable of triumphing over everything, including skill. Due to this, he's not averse to taking extreme measures to ensure his victory in battle. Julius's otherworldly strength is actually the result of special doping, a process in which he basically consumed enough steroids to kill an average man. This has granted him an immense muscular structure and destructive power, allowing him to resist the pull of an F1 race car. His most special technique has to be the Gott Toter Streinbohrer, a method that allows him to control every fiber of his muscles independently. Then, by spinning his arm and flexing his muscles simultaneously, he can release all of them at once with the power of an explosion. Biscuit Oliva. This US assassin is a giant made out of metal, invulnerable to even the strongest of blows. Also called Mr. Unchained, he used to be a prisoner in the Arizona State Prison, but due to his skills, he's been given complete freedom inside the facility and is seen more like a prison official. His gigantic musculature seems to make him look overweight at times, but don't be fooled, he has more muscles than humanly possible. His durability is so high that even close-range shotgun fire has no effect, and he can take on katana strikes as if they were nothing. In battle, he prefers to rely on his brute strength rather than any sort of special technique, and he's capable of overpowering several Olympic judoka with minimal effort. When on the offensive, his punches can kill with minimal impact, and on one occasion, his strikes caused all the GPS systems in the world to shake and malfunction. His battle prowess is further augmented by his inhuman recovery, allowing him to heal from gunshots just by consuming steaks. Sen Hatsumi. Hatsumi is often called the Fighting Cloud due to his incredible speed and unpredictability. In addition to this, he's also a natural-born fighter whose arsenal consists mostly of self-taught techniques and original moves. This makes his movement unreadable for the opponent, and the erratic patterns can often fool even the most seasoned veteran. Over the years, he's also grown into a master of Aikido, a martial art that allows him to incapacitate his opponents with minimal speed and effort. Audiences to his fights are sometimes even unable to detect his movements due to his emphasis on efficiency and speed. The Hatsumi-style Aikido is a family secret passed down through his lineage that also welcomes striking moves alongside locks and chokes. One of his most creative moves is the Gathering Clouds triple strike, in which he hits his opponent's glabella, philtrum, and chin in rapid succession. An attack on these three vital areas is a sure shot knockout. Hatsumi also specializes in the 100 meetings throw, a highly dangerous move that slams the opponent headfirst into the ground. Goki Shibukawa. This unassuming old man is definitely one of the most experienced fighters in the world of Baki. Shibukawa is a true master of the Japanese style of jujutsu and has also honed his skills in the ancient art known as Aiki. Though he's not a ripped hunk of muscle and sinew like most of the other characters, he's perfectly capable of taking down fighters several times larger than him. Despite his advanced years, his strength and skill haven't faded away whatsoever, and he has fought some of the real powerhouses over the years. The reason he can still fight at such a high level is his mastery of Aiki, which redirects the opponent's force back at the attacker. Though he seems to be a gentle, dignified old man, this is just a facade that hides a much more violent personality. And as history has proven, whenever you find a badass old man in anime, it's best to stay away. Mutaba Gaziga. So far on this list, we've come across numerous fighters with exceptional sensory perception. However, Mutaba is the complete opposite, as he's managed to become an extremely deadly fighter despite being blind. He first appeared in the Kengan Annihilation tournament as a mercenary hired by Togo Tomari to represent Iwami Heavy Industries. He began his career fighting in numerous African conflicts and lost his vision during one of these battles. This towering hunk of muscle is as lethal as it can get, having mastery over silent killing. This form of fighting focuses on the most efficient, pragmatic, and lethal strikes with minimal movement. Since he's a soldier more than a fighter, he's unfamiliar with many combat systems but can usually adapt to the opponent even at a moment's notice. This, combined with his knowledge of ancient Chinese arts, human acupuncture points, and assassination techniques, actually goes a long way in justifying his moniker, the Genocide. His most dangerous move, the Heart Gen, is designed to penetrate through an opponent's chest and stop their heart. Though not the most impactful, it's still enough to kill even the most dangerous of opponents. Gaia. This one actually gets a bit confusing, to be honest. Gaia was born Nomura, a leader of the 1st Airborne Brigade from Hokkaido. Back then, he was just a crazy mercenary with a penchant for homicide, but then, one day, he got a taste of his own medicine and was forced to face his ultimate fear in the form of a firing squad. This incident would be enough to induce pretty strong emotional reactions in even the strongest men, but for Nomura, this brought about a complete change. As Nomura dwindled away, his place was taken up by an alter ego named Gaia. This resulted in a complete loss of hair, as well as the awakening of supersensory abilities. This personality contrasts starkly with Nomura, becoming an almost unsurpassable soldier and fighter. When in the form of Gaia, he can control his body's natural limit-breaker adrenaline to achieve whatever level of strength and speed he requires. Gaia's most remarkable feature, however, is his impeccably powerful vocal cords, which are powerful enough to shatter all the lights in the Tokyo Dome with a single roar. Due to his time as a soldier, he's also highly proficient in the use of weapons and can shoot knives at high speeds of 60 kilometers per hour. Now, that's the kind of mental dysfunction even we'd like to have. Agido Kano. Kano is a former affiliate fighter for the Dai Nippon Bank and served as the 5th Fang of Metsudo. For a very long time, he was considered to be the greatest fighter in the association, even earning the title of the Emperor of Kengan matches. A powerful all-round fighter, he was literally the man to beat for years. His immense physical characteristics are enhanced even further by his knowledge of the craft as well as his keen perception. Agido's fighting is highly adaptable, and Metsudo considers evolution to be his defining ability. This allows him to improvise according to his opponent's fighting style, and the man can literally put together a tailor-made style for each opponent he faces, even in the middle of a fight. One of the most key techniques in his arsenal is called the formless stance. This is not a singular fighting style, but rather a wide repertoire of moves that can be drawn upon at any time. Agido could literally take you down with a move that you invented yourself, and if that's not dangerous, we don't know what is. Maybe that's why Metsudo trusts him so much. Pickle! Baki the Grappler was never really known for its adherence to real-world logic. So much weird stuff has happened in the storyline over the years that most viewers just take the insanity for granted. But even then, a character like Pickle is definitely one of the stranger things to ever occur in the show. The name Pickle is a reference to the fact that this individual from the Jurassic era was actually preserved inside a chunk of saline rock for millions of years. As he was born some 200 million years ago, Pickle's brain is somewhat underdeveloped, and his behavior can range from childlike curiosity to pure animalistic rage. After he was thawed out of the saline rock of the modern era, Pickle was slowly able to adapt to the modern world, but his bestial instincts still reigned supreme. Though his skills might seem primitive, Pickle is still one of the most superhuman beings we have seen throughout the series. Imagine having muscles so strong that you can withstand the complete force of a meteor. He has enormous physical endurance and durability, which probably comes from the fact that Pickle grew up hunting and eating dinosaurs without access to any sort of weaponry. Most of his moves are pretty basic, like bite, tackle, slap, and stomp, but due to his natural strength, these are still very, very lethal. Kokomi Yoshizawa. Kokomi is a nurse from Teito University who assists the medical genius Hanafusa Hajime. She usually plays an integral role in subduing Hanafusa's violent instinct and is actually very close to him. Hajime Hanafusa. This guy might seem a bit non-menacing at first glance, but once you take a look at his credentials, you'll probably be as scared as we are. Known as the Dissector within the arena, he began his journey posing as the affiliated fighter for Teito University. Little is known about this guy, but it's certain that he works as a special agent of the Japanese government, specializing in secret assassinations. He is an incredibly talented medical doctor, biologist, and surgeon who has often resuscitated patients despite fatal injuries. However, his medical expertise also makes him an avid experimenter who is even open to surgically altering his own body to gain an advantage in battle. Over the years, he's done stuff like altering his hypothalamus to essentially remove the sensation of pain from his body. He also devised a weapon made up of two spring-loaded blades in his arms, like some sort of Wolverine. Additionally, he's a master of the Chinese martial art Ling Shu Chin Na, in which the user employs his fingers to strike the opponent's acupuncture points. His most deadly move is called Termina Straub, and, if performed successfully, it's capable of completely severing the nerves within the target's cervical vertebrae. Kura Shinogi. This surgeon from Baki the Grappler is actually way more than a medical genius. Not only is he one of the most talented minds we've seen throughout the show, but he also has honed his body to the point where he's seen as the perfect physical specimen. The man has more strength than a champion boxer, possesses the speed of a world-class sprinter, and even has the plasticity of an amateur wrestler. To acquire these insane skills, he's undergone almost inhuman amounts of training, going as far as powerlifting a ton on a regular basis. As a doctor, he can perform even the most complicated of surgical procedures in a matter of minutes. He can also employ his knowledge of the human body during battle by attacking vital points, breaking bones, and delivering concussions with unerring precision. During the Maximum Tournament, Kurha fought an opponent who severed his nerves and took away his eyesight. This would be a crippling blow for most fighters, but Kurha just proceeded to surgically fix his nerves in the middle of the fight. Now that is some real expertise. Sayaka Kadahara. Sayaka Kadahara is Metsudo's daughter and serves as the ring announcer for the Kengan Annihilation Tournament. She appears in the film to perform a similar function, but in the world of Kengan Ashura, she's been steadily climbing the rungs of the association to become an integral part of the underground collective. Jerry Tyson. Also known as the Rocket Man, this fighter switched to the position of an announcer along with Sayaka after some losses in the preliminary rounds of the Kengan Annihilation Tournament. Since then, he has completely retired as a fighter and has become a member of the association instead. Back in his fighting days, he utilized a modified form of Xing Yi Quan, a style that involved the imitation of animal movements. Marvelous verdict! This ridiculously long list of characters proves that Baki vs. Kengan Ashura was a true collision of the two worlds. It did provide us with numerous iconic battles, but whether the film holds up to the originals is something that you'll have to decide for yourself. But rest assured, there's enough blood and gore in here to make even the most seasoned anime fans squirm. Do let us know which one of these fighters you like the best down in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all our marvelous content. That's all we got for you this time, so we'll catch you guys in the next one.